Oh, hi. I was just taking a walk outside, walked into my classroom, said, why not have some math fun? Because I know you want to. Hey, so Distance Learning 2.0, Lesson 822. And again, we spent some time on this one. Remember I said the first two lessons are going to be a little bit of a review? Okay? Oh, yeah, this is my gorgeous wife right here. And this is what happens when she dresses me up. Little bow tie and all that. I know, I don't always look this good. I look better. Dad joke of the day. My favorite word is drool. Just kind of rolls right off your tongue. I know, you guys have been missing those so much. All right, here we go. So exponent rules. So the 8.22 was more on the rules and what we're supposed to do to try to make our life a little bit easier. So if you're on 859, okay, as you're watching this, it says rewrite the expression below in simpler form. So our first job was to take these, okay, and let me move it up a little bit. Take these and you expand them first and then shrink them back down. So we wanted it in a simpler form. So we were doing 10 times 10 times x times x times x times 10 times y. You bring the 10s together, which is 10 to the third power. The x's together, x to the third, and then the y. But since it says in simpler form, there is no reason why we can't simplify that. So you would go 10 to the third power, which would be our 1,000, x to the third power y. Over here, okay, we have 3 of these and we have 8 of those. So it would look similar to so we have our 3 and then we have our 8, which means we have 11 of them overall, so 20 to the 11th power. So remember we said when the base is the same, you add the exponents. And then finally we have our one over here, and I have an x and an x and a y and a y and a z and a z and an x and an x and an x and a z and a z and a z and a z and a z. We bring them all back together. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 z's. That's a lot of sleeping. That's a lot of z's. And then we have 5 x's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's. And then we have our 2 y's. And that's about the best we can do. Questions? So again, this should be a little bit of a review. Okay, now we had Erin who wants to rewrite that expression in a simpler form, so we're supposed to help her. First job, write it all out. Let's factor this thing out. So we have 5 times 5 times x times x times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times x times x times x. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's. And then hopefully we can do that one. 5 times 5 is, times 5 is, times 5 is. You keeping up? Okay, where are we at right now? Yep, we should be at 625. Okay, and that's 4 of them. Now you gotta multiply it by 5, and then multiply it by 5. Okay? For those of us that can't do that, we go over here. We grab our handy dandy calculator. If you're doing it the long way, you can do the 5s, or you can use the exponent buttons to help you. So I know some of you guys don't like that, so we can do the 5 and the 5 and the 5. Okay? So 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 is 5 times 5. Whoops, you gotta back that one up. And I should have my glasses on. 15,625. So hopefully you're practicing without the calculator, but that's okay if you're using it too, because the numbers are getting quite big. Hence why we use exponents and why we do scientific notation. Okay, Now it said we had to expand each of these below in a factored form, then rewrite it. Okay, this is where some of you guys struggled a little bit when we did this the first time. Okay, and I had you write these out. So on the first one, we had 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, because there's 4 of them, over 2 times 2. So if you remember, 2 over 2 is 1, so this is like having a 1. This is like multiplying by a 1. So the only thing I have left is 2 times 2, which is 4. Now, it says rewrite it in simplified exponent form. So this would not have been good. If it was just simplified form, that's fine. So this you should be taking 2 to the second power. This is what they're looking for. Okay, let's try this one. So we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 over 3 times 3 times 3. So we have 3, okay, which is also known as 3 to the first power, but we really don't write the first on there because all numbers are to the first power. Then we do the y's. Y, because we can. And then we have 3 left over. Okay, and then we have our last one up there, which I'll do right below here. So we have x times x times x times y. By the way, if you have messy handwriting, this is where it can get goofy because your x's look like y, so make sure that you're meticulous about this. Then we have an x down here, and we have a y, and we have a y. So my x's, that's a 1. So then I just have my x squared to finish off. So again, this should be review for you. Okay? So then what I need you to do is do 66 A through D right now, okay, on your own. Now if you look, and I told you, pause the video at this point, which hopefully you are, because you know what? I'm going to pause the video right for you. Pause. And now I'm back. All right, so hopefully you have these done, okay? So if we're going for the answers, now these I didn't type in there, okay, because it gets a little goofy with the exponents. So for A, as we were doing it, you should have come up with, once you factored all of it out, you should have come up with a whopping 3. B, once you did the distribution, so hopefully you distributed, remember it would be 3 to the 4th power, and we had an x in there, x to the 4th power. And then hopefully you did your 3's, and you got 81 x to the 4th power. For C, we had 3 to the 3rd, we had a 3 to the 5th, and we had a 1/3 squared. So you should have had a 3 to the 8th, okay, and then we had it times 1/3 squared, which if you take that, 3 to the 8th and 1/3 squared, remember 1/3 squared is like having 1/9, and 3 to the 8th would be going 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, so 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81, times 3 is 243. Now, if you can't go past the 5, we still need 3 more. Okay, you go over, you hop on the 243, okay? So 243 times 3, and then times 3, and then times 3, and you get 6561. Now, if we simplify this, okay, and we've done it right, we take that number, basically dividing it by 9, and you should come up with a whopping 729 when you were done. And then lastly, with D, you had a 7 to the 4th power, you had a 9 squared, you had a 9 to the 3rd, a 7 squared. So once you simplified all that down, it should have looked like 7 squared over, what did we have? 9 to the 1st power down here. Okay, and then you have 49 over 9. Okay, but here's the problem. Okay, having that 49 over 9 is the same thing, okay, as, watch, 7 squared. Since we have 1 down here, it's actually 9 to the negative 1st. We're going to get into negatives. This was a little bit of a harder one. Okay, I do not want you doing this. That's no bueno. Okay, so we should have to the negative 1st. Okay, this right here is fine for your final answer. Okay, because if you're like, where did he come up with that negative? Okay, so let's look at that top problem. I'm going to move this up. Move it up. Okay, so if we look at the problem, it was 7 to the 4th. It was 9 squared over 9 to the 3rd, 7 squared. Okay, this equals 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 9 times 9. All over 7 times 7 times 9 times 9 times 9. So the 7s, I have 2 7s left up there. I have a 9 down below, okay? Which having a 9 down below with what's left is what you are going to find out is called 9 to the negative 1st power. So this is where that comes from. So if you had a little trouble with that one, that's fine because we haven't gotten that far yet. So again, those are the answers that we should be looking for. Is your 729, your 3, your 81, and then that one there. Okay? Enjoy. You're going to have these 2 for the first week, and then we'll have 3 different ones for the next week, which will be new. So I'll go a little bit slower. Okay, don't forget to look in Google Classroom. I'll eventually put a couple formatives to see how you're doing on this. Ciao.